Welcome to the Sisters with Swords podcast, where we explore God's Word and discover His design for women as we wield our weapons of warfare on the battlefield of everyday life. We're your hosts, Holly Knight and Janie Burkett. Hey there, sisters, and welcome to another episode of Sisters with Swords. We are in week 3 of our journey through Esther, and it's going to be a great lesson today. But for those of you that are watching on YouTube, you might say, wow, you girls look really great today. And we just want to say, we know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Today, I'm calling my outfit, and maybe I'll stand up so everyone can see it if you're on the YouTubes, which, by the way, is not a ton of you. There's we have like a 10-to-1 ratio of you guys that listen to the podcast versus watch it on YouTube. So, but we'd like to give a visual every now and then. I'm calling my outfit pajama adjacent. And Janie, we're just calling yours pajamas.
Yeah.
Because
mine is actual pajamas.
you slept in what you're wearing.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I changed my t-shirt.
That's great.
And I have on a bra.
Hey, see? There it is.
But other than that, yeah.
The over-the-shoulder boulder holder. Where did I see that? Was that a meme you sent me?
I did.
Okay. But I am, let me just stand up and give a visual for the YouTubes.
Can they see back there?
Yeah. Look.
That's, Holly, that is pajamas.
But
It's not pajama adjacent. It's pajamas.
No, it's not pajamas. I got it.
Well, the people look at it and they go, that's pajamas.
And I'm wearing it out in public. Like, I don't even care. I've worn this outfit to a concert. Like, I don't care. But it's so comfortable. But I got
because it's pajamas.
Okay, but I got it in Australia at like a really cute little boutique. And so that's why I'm like, but it's not pajamas because it's an outfit from a cute shop in Australia. So, but I can't like put a sign on my forehead that says that whenever I wear this. But the problem is spring is springing in Dallas. And this is the time of year where I literally do not know how to dress for this weather.
Yeah.
Now, it's some of my favorite weather, like low 70s, upper 60s, sunny. It's not humid. It's perfect. The allergies are flaring, but it's my favorite weather here, but also I don't know how to dress for it. I love, the sweatsuits, but it's too warm for that. But it's not warm enough for like my summer jumpsuits that I wear every day. It's not quite warm enough for that. So we're in pajama adjacent today. But you look great. And also you're wearing your Ugg slippers.
I am always wearing my Ugg slippers.
Cuz there they are. Cuz they're just, they get the job done.
I mean, I do love an Ugg slipper, you guys, because they've got like the hard bottom, so they're quote unquote all weather.
They're street ready.
They are street ready, and they've got a little bit of support for ye old arch. Mm-hmm. And if you remember, they used to do Stacy London, and what was the other guy she was with? Clinton. They would talk about the price per wear.
Yeah.
My price per wear on these Uggs is like 7 cents.
Yeah,
because
you've really gotten the bang for your buck there.
Yeah.
And then speaking of shoes, we were recently in Austin because you've been doing some really great work with you're on the board of the Texas Restaurant Association,
the Dallas chapter. Yes.
And you're trying to get some legislation passed in Austin, and we're down there. It's called lobbying. Meeting?
Yeah, we don't know.
Okay, cool.
It's the Texas Restaurant Association is a lobbying group.
Yeah.
Which obviously, the word lobbyist, I don't get a warm fuzzy when I hear that word.
No, I don't either.
I go, oh, those sound like the devil.
Yeah.
But, for me in restaurants, it is an incredibly great thing to have because most restaurants are small mom and pop type of deal.
Yeah.
Even like us, we are 6 units and or 6 restaurants and have like 140 employees, and that maybe sounds to you like a lot, but in the think about a Chipotle. Like we're
Right.
not like that's not even close, right?
Right.
You've got 6 Chipotles on your street,
Right.
So like we're not a big guy. So and most restaurants are like that. If you think about your favorite restaurants, they're probably places that there's only 1 or 2 of them,
Yeah.
right? As opposed to McDonald's. So it's a really great group like the Texas Restaurant Association, because they're kind of like pulling together all of the restaurants that have similar issues or similar challenges, which a lot of us do have similar challenges. Mostly have to deal with like health department regulations and stuff like that, which we won't get into and bore you with.
Yeah.
But I did
Thank you.
really love the experience, didn't you? Because it was just really interesting. Like in Texas, at least, I don't know how it's like in other states, but in Texas, like you can just show up. You don't need an appointment. You don't got to have your name on the list. You can just show up to the
state capitol and
go find, go in the directory, find the, office number that your state representative or your senator is where they're located. You can go in there and say, hey, I'd love to meet with him or her, or I'd love to meet with someone on their staff. And they will sit down and talk to you and probably give you, snacks or water.
Yes.
And, talk to you about all your thoughts and feelings.
Yes.
And so on the one hand, it's like, wow, you really can go talk to them. And then, not a lot of people are doing that. So literally, if you're saying, hey, I want you to vote on this or vote on that, here's why, here's how it impacts us, whatever. Not a ton of people are doing that. So a lot of times, like, they'll listen, they'll consider that.
Yeah.
And also it made me think, wow, no wonder these people can't get anything done, because anybody can just kind of interrupt them.
And it really does feel like they're getting nothing done. Like,
right. So bless their hearts. So on the one hand, you should go do that. On the other hand, you should not do that, because let them get their thing
send them
done.
an email.
Right.
Just send them an email.
Or go visit them.
Yeah. So, and I went with you as part of your marketing team.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I mean, there were very, very big brands there. Like the vice president of government affairs for Starbucks was in fact there too, with our little Texas restaurant group. And not one of these people had a quote unquote, team member or staff member or marketing person or executive assistant or anything like that with them. But your girl Janie did.
Yeah, because I showed up with my phone, with my camera ready.
Holly's like, we're going to the Capitol? Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we are. And I'm coming with my camera. And none of those people got a bomb reel.
No.
And got quality content from that day like you did. So
right. And they were like, oh, Holly, we need to make you an official name badge.
Yes, I got an official name badge and everything. And then they're like, oh, Holly, upload all of the content that you got. Send it to like these different marketing people so we can use your content. And I'm like, yeah, y'all should have thought about that. But your girl over here, the wheels are always turning. I'm like, what can we do to, if this is an important issue, we need to get this content recorded and put it out there and let people know what they need to be like voting on and, calling their representatives or emailing or whatever, things that are important. So I saw it as it was a no-brainer. Like, yes, someone needs to be there recording this content. And I was shocked that they didn't, like, nobody else had that. I honestly.
Yeah.
Because to me, it was like, why would you not do that? If these are such important issues, why are we not, making content that people can see and we can share with people? So anyways, it was a no-brainer to me. So, but of course, so I went. Now.
And so now they're like, is Holly coming back? I'm like, yes.
Yeah. And
when Janie comes back, Holly will come back too.
I'm there with my camera. I am not there to talk. I am not there to, like, in every meeting we went in, they were like wanting me to introduce myself. And I'm like, hi, I'm Holly, and I'm just here with her. Like, just don't mind me. I'm just here with my phone taking pictures. And so really, I was not there to engage. I was not there to speak on any issues, because did I know about any of it? Indeed, I did not.
Just say we want regulatory consistency across the municipalities. That's all you need
I'll
to keep
tattoo
saying.
that. on my neck if I have to. But like, yeah, I'll figure that out. But also just, I'm here to be quiet and just record things. And we got really great content. But my time living in New York City taught me if I'm going to be walking, which I don't do it often in heels, but if I am, you have to have a very specific kind of heel. And I came ready with my heels specifically. Janie, you did not.
I did not.
You had,
Well, first of all, and
Bush League heels on.
I did. And you know what? The other problem was they were brand new. I'd never worn them before.
Both pairs.
This is a rookie mistake.
Yeah.
Do not do that. And I know not to do that, but I just was so like, I was so pressed for time.
Yeah,
In like
course.
trying to even, because again, do we need yet another visual? This is what I wear. It's Ugg slippers. Okay. So I don't have heels. Like I literally went into my room the other day and was like, look at all these heels I have. And I started trying them on. I'm like, I can't wear those. I can't wear those. I can't wear those. And so I threw away all my heels because I was like, I can't wear these anymore. My foot, they're like pre-pregnancy heels. Do y'all know what I'm saying? Like your foot changes.
Yeah.
After all the pregnancies. Okay. And so like these shoes either were too small or too big or too wide or too narrow or whatever. And so I was like, I've got to go get new ones. And so I had time to go to just one place, and that was Dillard's. Mm-hmm. And of course they were closing. And so I'm like, just those black ones. Yes. And it was not advisable, and they really hurt, and it was a big problem. And next time I will get some naturalizers or whatever.
Bjorn's. What are they called? Aerosols?
Aerosols.
So if you're going to wear heels to events like this, if you're going to be doing a lot of walking, you have to be sure that there is some sort of a strap mechanism to firmly secure your foot into the heel. You cannot wear just like a regular pump that your foot slips in and out of. There's got to be. That was
my problem. I had on the pantyhose and my foot kept slipping out. And so I was like clickety-clacking.
Oh.
And I had to walk different. You know when you have to walk different?
Yes, and you can't walk at your regular speed, which your motto is walk fast, talk fast, take cash. We were not walking fast. We were talking fast, and we were for sure taking cash.
But the walk fast part was
the walk.
Was not
we were off of the walk fast. So, but I had my strapped in foot in these heels ready to go.
Yeah.
And I was zip zap zopping, but I couldn't zip zap zop because you were flip flopping.
Yeah.
Clickety clacking.
Yeah.
So I'm like, do I have to put you on my back, Janie? Do I need to give you a piggyback ride through the state capitol?
I was like, if my skirt wasn't so tight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But you looked so good. You were state capitol Barbie. I would say our fashion game was very strong.
Yeah. Apparently, restaurateurs are not fashionistas.
And apparently not a lot of women. In general, in the restaurant industry or in politics in general.
Which is why that our I've got a childcare bill.
Yes.
Sorry, I just banged my hand really hard. Move the whole setup. I'm very passionate.
Yeah.
About the childcare.
Yes.
Because how do people grow in restaurants? They just show up and work hard.
Yeah.
On the one hand, that's great. On the other hand, are you going to show up and work hard if you've got a baby on the teat?
Indeed, you are not. You need good childcare.
Right.
So, Janie, this is your charge. This is the mantle you are taking up on behalf of the working mothers in the state of Texas. We are so proud of you.
The Lord has put me there for such a time as this.
Come on, Esther.
Just like our Esther.
Come on, Esther. And I'm here to record it.
Right.
Okay?
For posterity.
Amen. Amen. Just like whoever wrote the book of Esther. Who did write the book?
I was just going to say that.
Was it Mordecai?
I don't know. I'm going to look and see if my little
Look at it right now. I feel like we should know that.
How do we not? Oh, it doesn't tell us. It just shows me the map.
Okay. Well, then that's why we don't know. Okay, fair enough.
They don't know either.
We're not.
So y'all give it a goog.
Yeah. Y'all let us know who wrote the book of Esther.
Put it in the comments.
Yep. Okay.
Comment below.
Mm-hmm. All right. So here we go. We are in Esther chapter 3 today. And a little bit like we did last week, we're going to be taking a kind of deep dive into some historical occurrences in the Old Testament that led up to what we're going to be studying in Esther 3. But Janie, first of all, just read Esther 3, verse 1 and 2.
After all this took place, King Xerxes honored Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. He promoted him in rank and gave him a higher position than all the other officials. The entire royal staff at the king's gate bowed down and paid homage to Haman because the king had commanded this to be done for him. But Mordecai would not bow down or pay homage.
Okay, that's where we're stopping for right now because there's a lot packed into these first two verses that you might not be aware of. So, first of all, it starts out with, after all this took place. Well, after all of what took place? If you'll remember what we studied last week with, in Esther chapter 2, we had the Miss Persia beauty pageant. All the girls went through their 12 months of beauty treatments. They all had one night in bed with King Xerxes and, hope they got called back. Esther did get called back. She had favor with King Xerxes. They put the crown on her head. She became queen. And then at the end of Esther chapter 2, we see Mordecai saves the king because he was sitting at the king's gate and he overheard a plot to assassinate King Xerxes. And he went and reported it. It was investigated, made to be found true, and the two men that were plotting against King Xerxes were killed, and they were hanged in the gallows. So Mordecai uncovers a plot to murder the king of Persia, and then it says, after all this took place, King Xerxes honored Haman. Huh? Who is Haman? Why is he being honored? Because Mordecai is the one who uncovered the plot. Why in the world is Mordecai not being honored? Why? Who is Haman and what has he done to be honored? It should have been Mordecai, but as is the theme of the book of Esther, this is one of God's divine chess moves. Remember, he is orchestrating everything about this. Every sentence of this book, every action of every character in this story is being orchestrated by the hand of the Lord. And so here, we're just having to trust and believe that we have to trust in his sovereignty. When someone else gets the promotion that we think we deserve. Has anyone ever gotten a promotion that you thought you deserved? Just in life? Or gotten I know.
Yes.
I mean, I have instances of this. What is yours?
I don't know that I want to say.
Oh, okay. That's fine. I will.
Go ahead.
I mean, mine's not that deep, but there's this song that I always wanted to sing called My Help. I always wanted to sing the solo on it.
Yeah.
And growing up in Dad's choir.
I lift up mine eyes to the hills.
Yeah. It's a choir song, and I always wanted to sing the solo on it. And I think Dad gave Mom the solo when I was in high school, and I was like, Dad, come on, I want to sing that song.
Yeah, because she's an adult.
Yeah. I was in the choir, though, and I got solos.
Yeah.
I got solos in Dad's choir starting in 8th grade. Lest ye forget.
Yeah.
Dad knew what I could do. And I was like, Dad, I want to sing the solo. Well, he gave the solo to Mom. Then I get married. We come to Dallas. We're at the big church here with the big choir. We pull out My Help to sing. And yet again, they gave the solo to somebody else. And at this point, it's like my husband making the decision. And I'm like, babe, this is my song. I want to sing it. And it was, no, this would be better for this girl's voice and she could communicate it better, whatever. And I'm like, I mean, that's not really a promotion, but I'm like, this song is in my heart. It's in my spirit. I want to sing it. And then I finally did get to sing it. Do you know the first time I ever sang My Help was in Uganda in a church service?
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, no, this I was meant to sing this song here now for the first time. So, God's timing was right on that and anything. I mean, that's just like sort of a small just a small example of that. But I mean, we all have examples where we think we deserve something. We think we deserve like a part or a job or a promotion or this or that. And then we see somebody else get it and we're like, whoa, where did they come from? How come they're getting that? I felt like I deserved that. And so that's how this entire chapter opens. Is Mordecai literally saved the king's life, but Haman is getting honored. Okay, great. Who's Haman? Well, we're gonna find out.
He's the son of Hamadatha. See, I got it that time.
Hamadatha the Agagite. Oh.
Bum, bum, bum.
Period. Full stop. The Agagite.
Oh, the Agagite.
Yeah. Oh, we're going back, ladies. Janie, 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 7 through 23. What is an Agagite and why do we care?
Oh, we care.
We care.
Then Saul struck down the Amalekites from Havilah all the way to Shur, which is next to Egypt. He captured King Agag of Amalek alive, but he completely destroyed all the rest of the people with the sword. Saul and the troops spared Agag and the best of the sheep, goats, cattle, and choice animals, as well as the young rams and the best of everything else. They were not willing to destroy them, but they did destroy all the worthless and unwanted things. Then the word of the Lord came to Samuel.
Yeah, it did.
I regret that I made Saul king, for he has turned away from following me and has not carried out my instructions. So Samuel became angry and cried out to the Lord all night. Early in the morning, Samuel got up to confront Saul, but it was reported to Samuel, Saul went to Carmel, where he set up a monument for himself. Then he turned around and went down to Gilgal. When Samuel came to him, Saul said, "May the Lord bless you. I have carried out the Lord's instructions." Samuel replied, "Then what is this sound of sheep, goats, and cattle I hear?" Saul answered, "The troops brought them from the Amalekites and spared the best sheep, goats, and cattle in order to offer a sacrifice to the Lord your God, but the rest we destroyed." "Stop," exclaimed Samuel. "Let me tell you what the Lord said to me last night." "Tell me," he replied. Samuel continued, "Although you once considered yourself unimportant, have you not become the leader of the tribes of Israel? The Lord anointed you as king over Israel and then sent you on a mission and said, 'Go and completely destroy the sinful Amalekites. Fight against them until you have annihilated them.' So why didn't you obey the Lord? Why did you rush on the plunder and do what was evil in the Lord's sight?" "But I did obey the Lord," Saul answered. "I went on the mission the Lord gave me. I brought back King Agag of Amalek, and I completely destroyed the Amalekites. The troops took sheep, goats, and cattle from the plunder, the best of what was set apart for destruction, to sacrifice to the Lord your God." Then Samuel said, "Does the Lord take pleasure in burnt offerings and sacrifices as much as in obeying the Lord? Look, to obey is better than sacrifice. To pay attention is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is like the sin of divination, and defiance is like wickedness and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you as king."
This is heavy stuff. So Janie, we read a little bit of this last week during your memorization and meditation where it says to obey is better than to sacrifice.
Yes.
Because we were talking about Esther's obedience bringing the favor of the Lord on her life. Well, here we have the story of the Amalekites. Saul was supposed to go in and destroy literally every living thing. Every living thing. The king, the men, the women, the children, all the animals. God says, wipe it off the face of the earth, destroy it. This was God's very clear command to Saul. Saul disobeyed. He kept King Agag alive. He kept some of the choicest cattle and livestock alive because he was going to sacrifice that to the Lord. Well, no, God did not ask for that sacrifice. He asked for obedience. And Saul disobeyed, but then even came back, well, after he lied about it, came back and said, but I did this for the Lord. And Samuel's like, bruh, let me tell you what's up. You disobeyed the Lord. None of this was for the Lord. You set up a monument to yourself, Saul. And so now we have just complete disobedience, and we have the king of the Amalekites, King Agag, that was still alive. And then who was Haman in Esther chapter 3?
The Agagite.
The Agagite, as in King Agag, begotten of King Agag. Haman was a descendant of King Agag. But let's go back even further, Janie. Go to Exodus chapter 17, verses 8 through 16. We know that God told Saul and the Israeli army to kill and wipe out the Amalekites. Why? Why was there such hostility between the Amalekites? So we need to know that too. So let's look here. This is the origin of the hostility between the Israelites and the Amalekites.
At Rephidim, Amalek came and fought against Israel. Moses said to Joshua, select some men for us and go up and fight against Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the hilltop with God's staff in my hand. Joshua did as Moses told him and fought against Amalek, while Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. While Moses held up his hand, Israel prevailed. But whenever he put his hand down, Amalek prevailed. When Moses' hands grew heavy, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat down on it. Then Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and one on the other, so that his hands remained steady until the sun went down. So Joshua defeated Amalek and his army with the sword. Then the Lord said to Moses, write this down on a scroll as a reminder and recite it to Joshua. I will completely blot out the memory of Amalek under heaven. And Moses built an altar and named it, The Lord is my banner, Jehovah Nisi. This is important to us. This is where we get banner Joel, my son, from. The Lord is my banner. He said, indeed, my hand is lifted up toward the Lord's throne. The Lord will be at war with Amalek from generation to generation.
The Lord will be at war with Amalek from generation to generation. This is that famous story of the Israelites fighting against the Amalekites, and as long as Moses' hands were in the air, the Israelites were winning. This is the origin of the hostility between Israel and Amalek. And the Lord said, Moses, write this on a scroll. This is important. I will be at war. I will wage war with Amalek from generation to generation. This is where it started. So we had some generations go by. We had generation to generation go by. And then the Lord said here, I will blot out the Amalekites, erase them from memory. Okay, well, we saw in 1 Samuel, he gave that mandate to Saul. He said, Saul, I want you to fulfill this. And Saul disobeyed by keeping King Agag alive. And then we get to Esther chapter 3, and who is going to be the arch nemesis of the Jews in Esther chapter 3?
The Agagite.
Haman the Agagite. Do you see how generational and how deep this goes? So the ramifications of Saul's disobedience with refusing to destroy the Amalekites and allowing King Agag to live, the ramifications were going to be significant and generational because of his disobedience. Haman's ancestry is therefore mentioned. The author wanted us to be sure that we knew he was an Agagite, and he's going to be called an Agagite several times in this book. The author wanted to make sure that we knew that he was an enemy of the Jews by birth, that it was more than just a personal hatred of Mordecai that he had that motivated him. It was, he took in hatred of the Jews. He took that in with his mother's milk, because the Lord was going to wage war with the Amalekites from generation to generation. And now we get to this generation, Haman. And boy, is he at war with the Lord's people, because it's in his bones. It's in his blood. It's in his DNA. I hate the Jews. And so when we read the rest of this, when we read the rest of Esther 3, it seems like his response, Haman's response to Mordecai, is so off the rails, like so blown out of proportion that, and you know, spoiler alert, I'll just tell you, we're about to read it, but I'll tell you, Haman, Mordecai, like we saw, refused to bow and pay homage to Haman. And it wasn't enough for Haman just to kill Mordecai. He wanted to kill all of the Jews throughout Persia. And remember, there were 127 provinces. It was the largest kingdom on the planet at that time. And Haman wanted to wipe out every Jew that was in this kingdom. So that seems super extreme and blown out of proportion. But now you know the generational hatred and animosity that he was born with towards this people group. It makes a little bit more sense, and it helps us understand. And again, before we move on, Mordecai would have known about Queen Vashti's story and how her refusal to obey the king's command cost her her role as queen. So he would have known this. He would have known that Haman was very powerful in the kingdom. And by refusing to bow to Haman, he must have counted the cost as to what his refusal to bow to Haman could have possibly meant for his life, because he saw what Vashti's refusal to obey the king looked like. So this helps us also understand the degree of Mordecai's resolve not to bow to Haman and to bow only to Jehovah. So that helps us get a little bit of a glimpse into Mordecai's character as well. So now, with that, Janie, let's read the rest of Esther chapter 3.
The members of the royal staff at the king's gate asked Mordecai, "Why are you disobeying the Lord's command?" When they had warned him day after day and he still would not listen to them, they told Haman in order to see if Mordecai's actions would be tolerated, since he had told them that he was a Jew. When Haman saw Mordecai was not bowing down or paying him homage, he was filled with rage. And when he learned of Mordecai's ethnic identity, it seemed repugnant to Haman to do away with Mordecai alone. He planned to destroy all of Mordecai's people, the Jews, throughout King Xerxes' kingdom. In the first month, the month of Nisan, in King Xerxes' 12th year, the pur, that is the lot, was cast before Haman for each day in each month. And it fell on the 12th month, the month of Adar. Then Haman informed King Xerxes, "There is one ethnic group scattered throughout the peoples in every province in your kingdom, keeping themselves separate. Their laws are different from everyone else's, and they do not obey the king's laws. It is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them. If the king approves, let an order be drawn up authorizing their destruction, and I will pay 375 tons of silver to the officials for a deposit in the royal treasury." The king removed his signet ring from his finger and gave it to Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of the Jewish people. Then the king told Haman, "The money and people are given to you to do with as you see fit." The royal scribes were summoned on the 13th day of the first month, and the order was written exactly as Haman commanded. It was intended for the royal satraps, the governors of each of these provinces, and the officials of each ethnic group, and written for each province in its own script, and to each ethnic group in its own language. It was written in the name of King Xerxes and sealed with the royal signet ring. Letters were sent by couriers to each of the royal provinces telling the officials to destroy, kill, and annihilate all Jewish people, young and old, women and children, and plunder their possessions on a single day, the 13th day of Adar, the 12th month. A copy of the text, issued as law throughout every province, was distributed to all the people so that they might get ready for that day. The couriers left, spurred on by royal command, and the law was issued in the fortress of Susa. The king and Haman sat down to drink, while the city of Susa was in confusion.
It's getting pretty wild. It's getting pretty hairy. Okay, so in verse 5, we see when Haman saw that Mordecai was not bowing down or paying homage to him, he was filled with rage. This makes sense, doesn't it? After we know about the animosity between the Israelites and the Amalekites, that was generational, and that it would go from generation to generation. Now we understand a little bit more about why he was filled with rage. But this reaction, of course, was predictable, because if you're filled with rage and you get bumped or you get knocked or you get what's another word? If you get aggravated, what's going to come out?
Rage.
If you're filled with rage and someone comes and knocks you, ruffles your feathers a little bit, rage is going to come out.
Yes.
What fills a person ultimately will control them. So he was filled with rage. He's going to be controlled by rage, and his actions and his language and his words are going to be full of rage.
Side note.
Yeah.
Have you ever, I know probably not you,
Uh-huh.
but you can probably guess if maybe this has happened to me
Uh-huh.
this week.
Uh-huh.
You felt the need to educate someone while they're driving.
Oh, Janie. You guys, I cannot be in the passenger seat while she's driving. She is the most aggressive road rager you have ever known.
It's road education.
Okay, is that what we're calling road advocacy?
There we go.
Driver's ed on the fly.
Hey, my saints in Texas are going to know. If you're going from the Waco to DFW on I-35 and we have a saint in the left-hand lane going 5 under the speed limit, and there's plenty of opportunity for them to choose a different lane, we're trying to educate them on our ways, which is the left lane is for breaking the law.
Right.
It's not for going. It's for the lawbreakers. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not for going.
It's for the rule breakers.
It's not for going 5 over the speed limit.
No, it's for going
for
a solid 15 over the speed limit.
It's a minimum 9.
Yeah.
Up to, whatever in your heart.
However the Lord leads you.
But it's for sure not for going 5 under.
Yeah, no, that left-hand lane is for passing only. And there are those signs.
So I'm just the one that's going to come up behind you and let you know.
Janie will get on your tail in her car.
You almost said a different word.
I did. Janie will get on your tail in her car and just lay into her horn.
Janie, I'll give it a few taps.
Janie,
a tap here, a tap there.
Janie, the Lord is watching and listening. Until that person moves over.
They got educated.
Yeah. And she goes, look, they just learned something. I just taught them something. How great is that? And I'm like, this is also Texas, where everyone owns a gun. So I'm like ducking down in my seat in case something pulls out a concealed weapon and just goes haywire with it. Meanwhile, here's what I would do, and I think this is what most people would do. Someone's in the left lane going too slow. I'm just going to go around them. I'm just going to get in another lane, zippity zap, and just get in front of them and keep it moving. But not Janie.
Because I'm not
This is an educational opportunity.
Because the people coming behind, the posterity, needs to have a clear left lane.
For the generations that are coming behind you.
Coming behind.
Oh my God.
We got to leave an inheritance.
You guys don't ever get in the car with her. Just take it from me. Or if you do, take a Xanax before. You can't do it. I've been driving with her long enough. And also, if you're in the driver's seat and she's in the passenger seat,
I'm not paying attention.
That's a lie. That is a lie. It's also educational hour because whatever direction, whatever way you're going to get from point A to point B, Janie knows a faster, quicker, better way to get from point A to point B. And it's not your way, it's her way. And she's going to tell you you're going the wrong way.
This is terrible. Nobody's ever going to want to hang out with me.
No, just not in the car. No one's going to want to hang out with you in the car. And that is the goal. I'm trying to let people know, just don't get in the car with her. Just whether she's driving or in the passenger seat. And you know who agrees with me right now? Your husband and my husband. And all of our kids and our mother. Because everyone knows Janie is a passenger seat educator. And
did you know I took the
a driver's seat educator?
I took the spiritual gifts test.
Yeah.
And you know what my top 2 were? Prophecy and teaching.
Well, driver's ed.
And so I'm trying to teach.
Prophetic driver's ed. That's what she's doing.
You had to get out of the left lane.
The absolute worst. And so much like Haman, when Haman gets behind somebody going slow in the left lane, he's filled with rage. Same with Janie. And that's what we see here. To bring it back, to circle it back around to Esther chapter 3.
I do wonder why I started talking about that.
You brought it up.
I know. I wonder why.
Because it makes sense. Like, even when we were driving back from Austin, I'm like, you love a horn. You love a horn, a car horn, a honk, honk, honk. That's what's in your spirit, and so that's what's going to come out, Janie.
Oh.
What you're filled with is what will consume you. And you know what? You're filled with prophetic education. Prophetic education. So, and we're all so proud of you, but also literally no one's going to get in the car with you ever. If you can, if you want to, like, just for entertainment's sake. It is... Because even when she's honking at people, I can't believe we're still talking about this, but even when she's not mad.
I'm not.
No, you're actually not mad. But it is a...
Just, hey, friend, child of God, son or daughter of the Most High.
Hey, brother or sister in Christ.
This lane is not for you. This is not where God has called you to be.
This is not your lane. Stay in your lane.
The Lord has called you to be in a different lane. He told me, and I'm going to prophesy over you. The Lord said, the center lane's for you, saint.
Everyone needs a Janie in their life. I'm telling you. Everyone, but you can't have her. She's mine. Okay.
Oh, nobody's ever going to listen to this podcast again. This is the last time.
This is it. Well, we're signing off.
They ain't even going to make it to Thursday.
Sisters with swords. Love y'all. Okay. Okay, so I have no idea. This is good.
Wheels off.
This is good.
Oh my God. We haven't even made it past the first page.
I have 3 whole pages of notes. And we're still on the first page. 45 minutes in. Now I'm crying.
I'm not going to say anything else the rest of the episode. This is all on you.
No, you got to say something. And then I'm going to have to poop. We got to get this going because I can feel it. Okay.
Woo.
Okay, verse 6. Verse 6. Verse 6.
Okay, and when he learned mention of Mordecai's ethnic identity, it seemed repugnant to Haman to do away with Mordecai alone. He wanted to destroy the whole crew.
Okay, yes. So, and we've talked about this. Taken at face value, Haman's reaction seems a little bit exaggerated. Personal affront from a Jewish man is hardly sufficient motivation to desire to exterminate an entire race. This is where the historical background we looked at the beginning of Esther chapter 3 helps us interpret this verse. This is more than a personal offense, but reflected the biblical truth that the Lord will have war against Amalek, which is now represented by Haman from generation to generation, as we read in Exodus 16. So in verse 7, we see that Haman has determined to kill all of the Jews in Persia, and how they're going to decide when to do this is that they're going to cast lots. It says they cast the pur, or the pur, that is the lot. So it's kind of like throwing dice, and it was used as a way of divination back in this day. So Haman is casting lots. He is attempting superstitiously to determine a date for the extermination of the Jews. Proverbs 16:33 says this: "The lot is cast into the lap, but its every decision is from the Lord." So even though Haman and his group were casting lots to decide when the Jews would die, based on this verse in Proverbs, we know that even the lot, the decision of the lot, the dice that are cast, even that is from the Lord. So you think you're going in there doing divination, trying to figure out when and where to exterminate the entire Jewish race, and God is saying, I'm in control of how this thing lands. Like, no sweat. We see God working behind the scenes here as well. So the casting lots was all in the hands of the sovereign God. The fact that the lot fell on the 12th month gave the Israelites time to address the king's edict. So the king said, Haman, go do what you're going to do. These people are in your hands. They cast lots as to when this could happen. They could have cast lots, and that lots would have landed on next week. Okay, next week we're exterminating the Jews. It could have landed a month from now, but it didn't. It gave them almost a full year until the date that was set upon to exterminate the Jewish race. And again, that was the divine providence of God. Even in the casting of the lots, the date that was determined was all part of God's plan, because it gave time for his plan to come to fruition with saving the Jewish race. So Charles Spurgeon says this, and some of this language, it sounds a little old, so just bear with me. It sounds a little King James to me, but I love what he wrote here, so I want to read this to you. But oh, in that secret council chamber where sit the sorcerers and the man who asks counsel at the hands of the infernal powers, the Lord himself is present.
Amen.
Frustrating the tokens of the liars and making diviners mad. Or diviners? Diviners. Vain were their enchantments and the multitude of their sorceries. The astrologers, the stargazers, and the monthly prognosticators were all fools together, and led the superstitious Haman to destruction. Surely there is no enchantment against Jacob, nor divination against Israel.
Amen.
Trust ye in the Lord, ye righteous, and in patience possess your souls. Leave your adversaries in the hands of God, for he can make them fall into the snare which they have privily laid for you. I love that so much. So verse 8 says, Then Haman informed King Xerxes, there is one ethnic group scattered throughout the peoples in every province of your kingdom, keeping themselves separate. Their laws are different from everyone else's, and they do not obey the king's laws. It is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them. So note here, when Haman is making his case to King Xerxes, he doesn't mention who this race is, who these people are. He just says there's a race out there, And they've got their own laws. They don't do what you tell them to do. He did not mention the Jewish people by name, but also King Xerxes doesn't even ask. Like, if I'm the king or queen of an entire kingdom and I've got someone that says, hey, I want to annihilate a large chunk of the people in your kingdom, and there's a group of people, and I want them gone. Yeah. My first question would be, Who are these people?
Yeah.
What's their names? And why? I mean, Haman gives a little bit of the why, but he does not answer the who, and King Xerxes doesn't ask who. The NET translation is a little bit easier to understand Haman's words here. It says, it is not appropriate for the king to provide a haven for them. So I think at this point, maybe Haman is suggesting that Persia is a sanctuary city for the Jews, which technically would not be true because they were the ones in captivity.
Right.
So Haman is saying we don't need to be protecting these people anymore and providing a safe haven for them. In verse 9, we see Haman offer a large sum of money. It says, if the king approves, let an order be drawn up authorizing their destruction, and I will pay 375 tons of silver to the officials for deposit into the royal treasury. That amount in today's economy would be roughly 450 billion with a B.
Wow.
$billion. So in other words, Haman is offering the king a bribe equal to 2/3 of the royal income. Doubtless this huge sum of money was to come in large measure from the anticipated confiscation of Jewish property and assets once the Jews had been destroyed. Such a large sum of money is mentioned may indicate something of the economic standing of the Jewish population in the empire of King Xerxes. So for the most part, and we know this to be true historically, the Jews were very good with money and with stewardship and with growing and multiplying the what God had provided for them. And so a large part of this $450 billion was going to come after he had exterminated the Jews and confiscated all of their money. So he was going to be filling the royal coffers with that. He suggests that the people of Mordecai are really a threat to the king's liberty, and that if he will remove them and trust Haman, Haman will make him very rich. Verse 10, we see that the king removed his signet ring from his finger and gave it to Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of the Jewish people. Xerxes here is telling Haman, just keep the money and do with the people what you will. Gave him the signet ring, meaning I am giving you full power to do whatever you want with these people, even though he didn't know they were the Jewish race. Xerxes didn't. Verse 12, it says, the royal scribes were summoned on the 13th day of the first month, and an order was written exactly as Haman commanded. It was intended for the royal satraps, the governors of each of the provinces, and the officials of each ethnic group, and written for each province in its own script and to each ethnic group in its own language. Skip down just a little bit. It says letters were sent telling the officials of each province to kill and annihilate and destroy all the Jewish people, young and old, women and children, and plunder their possessions on a single day. Now, this here is a mirror of what the Lord had instructed Saul to do through Samuel with the Amalekites. I want you to go and destroy all of them, leave nothing. And we see that here. Now we're having the reversal of that. Again, because there is war waging between these two people groups from generation to generation. And now Haman's saying, I'm about to do this to the Jews. What they tried to do to the Amalekites way back in, what King Saul attempted to do but failed, I am now going to do that to the Jews. So we see a little bit of a reversal there with that. So verse 15, the couriers left, spurred on by royal command. They're going out to all the different provinces to send out this edict. Hey, on the 13th day of Adar, the 12th month, we're coming and we're just going to kill all the Jews, all of them. So the couriers are going to all of the different provinces, handing out this king's decree, this edict with the signet ring stamp, meaning this is the law of the land issued by royal decree of the king. And what do we see here happening? The king and Haman sat down to drink while the city of Susa was in confusion. You think?
Yeah.
Because people were like, wait, what? Huh? We're just killing all these people?
Yeah.
There's just going to be a mass murder in about 12 months? What?
Yeah, and think about it. Like, what were these people supposed to do in the meantime?
Yeah.
Like, everybody's already side-eyeing them
Yeah.
for a year.
I wonder if a ton of Jews left during that time. Like, if I had an edict saying in 12 months, oh, you and your entire family are going to die, I'm like, oh, bye. I'm not staying here. I find all of that very fascinating. Like, why didn't they just get up and leave? But we know they didn't because they're there and their lives are eventually spared through Esther. I don't know if they had the means to get up, but they had money. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why they would all sit there and wait on that to happen. But needless to say, there was confusion, to say the least. The king is quite confident that he has taken a wise step. He's so proud of himself. He's deluded. He's deceived. He thinks he's acting in his own interest, and he's grateful to Haman for his obvious concern for his welfare. Oh, thank you, Haman, for being so concerned about me.
Cares about him so much.
Yeah. So he invites Haman in to celebrate with him with a glass of wine or two, or probably 4 or 5. But outside in the city, there's nothing but confusion and perplexity because all the people are like, huh? And I would imagine that the Persians that are there are like, but wait, these are my friends. Like, I've got some Jewish friends.
Well,
like,
and
we're all living together here.
And the way, like, they were conquering these people groups is they weren't, like, conquering them and subjugating them to, you know, a lot of hardship and stuff like that. It was in order to create such a big empire of all these different provinces with all these different languages and all these different customs and all these different people. It was kind of like live and let live. Okay, now you're a part of us. You also have some of the protection of the laws.
Yeah.
And this is how the Roman Empire, you know, assimilated people too. So, you know, they were allowed to participate in commerce and allowed to own homes and property and those types of things. And it's what enabled them not to continue fighting all these people. Because if you imagine you have one people group and you're trying to, you know, oppress 127 different people groups, like you're outnumbered.
Right.
But if you're kind to them, and
Yeah.
like, okay, now we're all in this together.
Yeah.
We're all Team Persia.
Yeah.
You know, then, you know, so they definitely were, you know, speaking the same language and communicating and friends, like you said. So, you know, just imagine somebody comes and says, you know, this entire people group that's in your neighborhood and that's friends with you, we're just going to kill them one day.
Total and utter mass
And also
chaos.
you're supposed to do it.
You do it. You're going to kill them on this day. What? Okay. Just mass pandemonium. While the king and Haman are just sitting down, you know, popping a bottle and just chilling. And that's how Esther chapter 3 ends. Just, you know, with a happy hour while there's mass and total confusion outside of the palace walls.
Yeah.
So all of this goes back to the whole reason Haman is even alive and even in Susa is because he's an Agagite. He is a direct descendant of King Agag, whom Saul refused to kill when he was told by the Lord to kill him. And now look at the consequences of that disobedience. We have what looks to be the inevitable annihilation of the Jewish race because Saul refused to fully obey the Lord. And it was generationally compounded. This animosity between the Israelites and the Amalekites got worse with every generation because it wasn't pulled up at the root like Saul was supposed to do. And to me, that is such a warning for us. And we might look back at some of our family tree, some of our lineage, and see where maybe decisions were made a few generations ago that we're dealing with that right now. Personally, there's generational curses, but also there's generational blessings. And so there might be some things that we're struggling with or that we're enjoying today because decisions were made decades back, centuries back by some of our ancestors. And it kind of opens your eyes to the weight of our obedience now and how that's going to impact the generations to come after us. Whether it's a full obedience, a partial obedience is full disobedience. So whether it's full obedience or full disobedience, either way will have generational impact for decades to come. And we get to make the decision now because we're the ones that are here alive now. We get to make the decisions for those coming after us. Of whether they will be receiving generational blessings or generational curses. And both are significant. So I that's what just kind of one of the reasons I loved studying Esther chapter 3, because of course we know, I mean, so many of us are familiar with the highlights of this story, but when you look at Haman the Agagite, the phrase Agagite was put in there for a reason. We got to find out why.
Right.
We got to dig back into all these older manuscripts to figure out why is that significant, because it is so significant. And so, anyways, that was just one of the awesome things that I loved studying from this chapter. Obviously, this lesson is called "The Fault of Our Forefathers" because now the Israelites are paying for the disobedience of King Saul here, and that's pretty significant. So, we made it through.
We did.
Barely.
Yeah.
Got the giggles there for a second, but we made it.
Are y'all still listening?
Yeah, are you?
Are you still on? It's okay if you're not.
Right. We probably lost you.
We listen and we don't judge.
We listen and we don't judge.
In fact, friend, that's what you're called to do. You're called to listen to us and not judge, especially not judge my driving.
You can judge that.
Okay.
Full permission.
Wow.
Anything to add, subtract, multiply, or divide from this?
I did notice something in verse 8. It says that Haman goes and complains to King Xerxes, and he says this ethnic group, their biggest fault was they are keeping themselves separate. And I thought that's really interesting because that's what they were
called to do.
It says, come out from among them and be separate. And so, like, the chief thing that God calls us to do can sometimes be someone's chief complaint against us. But, and that's kind of, again, like what we talked about last week, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Well, he couldn't live at peace with Haman.
Right.
Because Haman wanted him to assimilate.
Right.
And God said, come out from among them and be separate. And the entire reason that the Israelites were even in captivity was because they did accept the gods and worship the gods of the neighboring peoples around them. And so God said, I'm going to do to you what I told you I was going to do to you. And that is to send you into captivity. And so they're like, okay, we got it. He meant that.
Yeah.
So we're going to come out from among them and be separate.
Yeah.
And so I just think that was interesting because that was what he led with.
Yeah.
Was not that they're not obeying or, they're a threat to everybody or whatever, but that they are separate.
Yeah. And when you get accused or, you try to get betrayed or belittled or knocked into a corner for actually doing what God called you to do, trust and believe that God's going to come and defend you.
Yeah.
Every time. So that's good, Janie. It's a good word. All right. Well, we will see you ladies on Thursday for some meditation and memorization with Janie. We love you, sisters. We'll see you soon. Sisters with Swords is produced and edited by Holly Knight. Original music by the Minister of Funk and Husband of the Year, Bradley Knight. Artwork by Holly Knight. And dinner tonight will also be provided by Holly Knight. Please subscribe and share this podcast with your friends, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Sisters with Swords. We're cheering you on, sister. Go wield your sword.